2787 XXVI. Importance of the universal realization of the right of peoples to self-determination and of the speedy granting of independence to colonial countries and peoples for the effective guarantee and observance of human rights. The General Assembly, reaffirming its resolutions 1514-15 of the 14th of December 1960, 1803-17 of the 14th of December 1962, 1904-18 of the 20th of November 1963, 2200 XXI of the 16th of December 1966, 2535B XXIV of the 10th of December 1969, 2625 XXV of the 24th of October 1970, 2649 XXV of the 30th of November 1970 and 2672 C XXV of the 8th of December 1970 and Resolution 8 adopted by the International Conference on Human Rights held at Tehran in 1968. Solemnly reaffirming that the subjection of peoples to alien subjugation, domination and colonial exploitation is a violation of the principle of self-determination as well as a denial of basic human rights and is contrary to the Charter of the United Nations, concerned that many people continue to be denied the right to self-determination and are living under conditions of colonial and foreign domination. Expressing concern that some countries, notably Portugal, with the support of their North Atlantic Treaty Organization allies, are waging war against the national liberation movement of the colonies and against certain independent states of Africa and Asia and the developing countries, confirming that colonialism in all its forms and manifestations, including the methods of neo-colonialism, constitutes a gross encroachment on the rights of peoples and on the basic human rights and freedoms. Convinced that effective application of the principle of self-determination of peoples is of paramount importance for the promotion of friendly relations between countries and peoples, the guarantee of human rights and the maintenance of peace in the world, affirming that the future of Zimbabwe cannot be negotiated with an illegal regime and that any settlement must be made on the basis of no independence before majority rule, reaffirming the inalienable rights of all peoples, and in particular those of Zimbabwe, Namibia, Angola, Mozambique and Guinea-Bissau and the Palestinian people, to freedom, equality and self-determination, and the legitimacy of their struggles to restore those rights, reaffirming the Declaration on Principles of International Law concerning friendly relations and cooperation among states in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations, which elaborated the principle of self-determination of peoples, considering that the establishment of a sovereign and independent state freely determined by all the people belonging to the territory constitutes a mode of implementing the right of self-determination. Further considering that any attempt aimed at the partial or total disruption of the national unity and territorial integrity of a state established in accordance with the right of self-determination of its people is incompatible with the purposes and principles of the Charter. Mindful that interference in the internal affairs of states is a violation of the Charter and can pose a serious threat to the maintenance of peace, confirms the legality of the people's struggle for self-determination and liberation from colonial and foreign domination and alien subjugation, notably in southern Africa and in particular that of the peoples of Zimbabwe, Namibia, Angola, Mozambique and Guinea-Bissau, as well as of the Palestinian people, by all available means consistent with the Charter of the United Nations. 2. Affirms man's basic human right to fight for the self-determination of his people under colonial and foreign domination. 3. Calls upon all states dedicated to the ideals of freedom and peace to give all their political, moral and material assistance to peoples struggling for liberation, self-determination and independence against colonial and alien domination. 4. Believes that the main objectives and principles of international protection of human rights cannot be effectively implemented while some states, particularly Portugal and South Africa, pursue the imperialist policy of colonialism, use force against independent African states and developing countries and peoples fighting for self-determination and support regimes that are applying the criminal policy of racism and apartheid. 5. condemns the colonial and usurping powers that are suppressing the right of peoples to self-determination and hampering the liquidation of the last hotbeds of colonialism and racism in the African and Asian continents and in other parts of the world. Condemns the policy of certain states members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization that contribute to the creation in Southern Africa of a military-industrial complex whose aim is to suppress the movement of peoples struggling for self-determination and to interfere in the affairs of independent African states. Recalls that it is the duty of every state to contribute through joint and independent action to the implementation of the principle of self-determination, in accordance with the provisions of the Charter, and to assist the United Nations in discharging the responsibilities vested in it by the Charter for the implementation of this principle. Urges the Security Council as well as states members of the United Nations or members of specialized agencies to take effective steps to ensure the implementation of the relevant United Nations resolutions on the elimination of colonialism and racism, and to report to the General Assembly at its 27th session. Resolves to devote constant attention to the question of flagrant large-scale violations of human rights and fundamental freedoms resulting from the denial to peoples under colonial and foreign domination of their right to self-determination. Calls upon all states to observe the principles of the sovereign equality of states, non-interference in the internal affairs of other states and respect for their sovereign rights and territorial integrity. 2001 Plenary Meeting, the 6th of December 1971.